All right, so now we're on to. There's spoilers all throughout what we're about to do, and we're going to talk, because this has all been about movies that Sarah likes, we're going to now talk about magical realism and surrealism and dreams and ephemeral nature.
A wrap-up, because we kind of mentioned it as we went along. I know you kind of wanted me to hold off on talking about it, but it was hard not to.
No, and we talked about it a little bit in the reviews themselves, but these movies are all... It's funny because they've all come out really near each other. That is Sunset, Long Day's Journey into Night, and Under the Silver Lake. And they're just all really similar, and they all really are Sarah movies.
They may be three of my favorite movies so far this year, with the heiresses, and stuff like some of the stuff from last year, the Colombian film, Birds of Passage.
Birds of Passage, that was real good. I like the heiresses.
But these are three, some of my... And I'm starting to work out in my mind, like, the super specific subgenre this kind of movie falls into. Yeah. Because on its surface, these are three very different films.
Oh, yeah.
One's a historical Hungarian film, one's a modern-day-ish Chinese film, and the other's a modern-day...
It takes place, like, 2011 or something.
Yeah.
But that's...
very Los Angeles-centric.
Yeah.
Film, but they all feature someone looking for someone who's missing.
Which, you mentioned that to me, again, spoilers. You mentioned that to me, and I was just like... I hadn't even noticed that, because in the first one, she's looking for her brother, but she doesn't know she has a brother, and then she's looking for him,
she possibly finds him, or maybe not. It's a little confusing.
It's a little confusing, but like that's not even the point of that movie. And then in Long Day's Journey into Night, he's looking for his lost love. Except that we eventually, and the takeaway from that movie for me is like what he's looking for. A, doesn't exist. B, even if he finds her, it's not going to be what he wanted because, again, it doesn't exist. So it's like, that also doesn't matter. This, and Under the Silver Lake, oddly, even though it's the most kind of surreal of all of them to some degree, it's the one that is the most like, he was looking for someone and he found that person. It's not what he wanted, but he did.
Well, it's like the realization of A Long Day's Journey into Night, because he's looking for his lost love, only they spent one night together and he imagined something that wasn't ever going to happen, and then he finds her and everybody's disappointed and sad. Yeah, well, and what I was saying to you is, there's something about any movie or any story that centers around searching for someone missing is on some level about trying to connect and being isolated. Yeah. Versus like a murder mystery, which is going to be about justice, and finding the truth. Yeah. Like, I don't know, I mean, you can have missing, I think Chinatown might be, but it gets all tied up into murder and government and stuff. So that's not necessarily this genre. Right. And I think there's something, too, about someone missing where, especially if you don't find them, which you don't in Sunset, and you don't in Long Day's Journey into Night, where it's like you can never know. Yeah. It's like a murder mystery where you don't actually solve it at the end, which is,
Well, it's where you solve it, except that the answer, it's like you solved something. You solved a different mystery, and you're never going to solve the original one. Is almost more what it is. Yeah. You answered a question that you didn't know you had asked.
Right. So I definitely like that setup. Yeah. And then they seem to inspire these dreamlike journeys, these kind of adventures that are all about like absence and what's not on camera.
I like how you say you say adventures, and I of course I'm just sort of laughing to myself because I'm like, these movies are all fairly slow. Because you say adventure and you think of like Indiana Jones or something.
I don't like those kind of adventures very much. Like Indiana Jones is a really good movie. It's not a Sarah movie. Like like I want to just like.
You want your adventure to take place at 10-minute intervals where
like
nothing
my
happens.
Adventure is what is this? Like that's a good adventure to me. Like having to go somewhere and do things and fight people and go really fast. That's tiring. That's not an adventure. That's just exhausting. That's work. Yeah. Like, I know.
But you like those movies, just not as much as you like
and there
these
is
kind of movies.
There is a a mine, and there's a little bit of adventure in Long Day Journey.
Long Day Journey, yeah. It's and in Under the Silver Lake, we have the owl thing shows up, and he like pulls a gun on it. Like that's a moment of like action. And you're like, what the fuck is happening? But like something just happened.
She makes owl noises and runs away, and you never see her again.
Yeah.
It's more like go on a journey to strange places.
Yeah, you like traveling.
Yes, but also
to dreamland. You're what's Randolph Carter? Isn't that H.P. Lovecraft's character? You're like you are Randolph Carter.
Yeah, but also like these. They're all about trying to put the pieces together and trying to make some sense of it and trying to figure out what happened and what's going on. And it's the most blatant in Under the Silver Lake that really there is no meaning to it. Yeah. And he's just putting, this map from inside a carton of cereal onto a Nintendo Power magazine and scribbling. But Sunset, she's just trying to like make sense of what happened years ago, and and there's no way of making, and is this guy her brother or not? He's not going to tell her because everybody says anything.
Well, and once he dies, it's like you are the brother. It's almost like that's what it feels like. They start like treating her like she's the brother.
Yeah, I forgot until now. I didn't even mention it. Like just the enigmatic dialogue is also a little bit much at times, where it's like you'll never know what's going on because people don't talk like humans in that movie.
In Sunset,
It's like, you need to do the thing. Like, wait, what?
What?
Like,
the dialogue is
that's not a conversation. You came all the way out here to say that, and now you're leaving?
What I feel like a part of what you like is like, these movies are all about, like, putting a puzzle together, except that it's like, you have the pieces of the puzzle, like, one of them is from, like, 1,000-piece puzzle, another one is, like, a 500-piece puzzle. They've got a piece of a 3D puzzle that doesn't fit at all. And then afterwards, they realize that it's not a puzzle. They've just been, like, moving pieces of cardboard together that they think is a puzzle. Like, that's kind of what you like.
Yeah.
And, like, Under the Silver Lake is the most like that.
Well, there was something online about someone had discovered that by this one puzzle maker, literally used the same pieces for every puzzle. So
it's the same cutout.
So you could actually put different puzzles together and get really,
That's excellent. Huh?
Yeah, I guess so. And it's funny because other people don't like these movies. It's a small audience. I mean, I'm trying to be hipster. No one but me likes it. No, it's a small audience.
It's not broad audience. You are not the only one by any means, but these are smaller audience films.
But like they make me think about the novels by Haruki Murakami, which to me have a similar like often someone's missing or maybe a cat.
Yeah.
He's going places. There's alleyways that don't have exits. There's a well. Yeah. There's a painting. There's a man with no face, like all this strange, like dream imagery.
Yeah.
And I just really like that stuff. Well, and I'm glad that they made some of those movies this year because they
made them for you.
They're never gonna, it's never gonna make whatever Endgame made. There's never gonna be a broad audience for those films. But I'm glad there's enough of us out there.
Well, it's like I almost feel like there's two different things here because so you like the puzzle, like this whole three, all that stuff, but. How much, how much of it is the magical realism? Like, because isn't that what you're saying? It's like a magical realism? Or not magical, is it like something else?
It's magical realism, definitely, but there's got to be a strong amount of realism to it, because I think a lot of life is fundamentally absurd, and people like to say, no, this all makes sense, and it's like, you're deluding yourself, but if that's how you get through your day, that's okay. Yeah. But like, if you really look at if you reduce things a certain way, it's quite absurd and strange what we do on a daily basis. I think there's that comic on Instagram right now, A Strange Planet, that does a lot of that. Like, it's a lot of it's really absurd and strange.
I am the hit by the sun or something. Yeah, you are hit by the sun.
Oh, star damage.
I am star damage.
I crave the star damage.
I crave the star damage.
Yeah, which is a tan.
Yeah.
It's all really absurd and strange. So if a movie can really highlight and confusing, and if a movie can I go through my days understanding half of what's going on most of the time. So if a movie can capture that feeling, a lot of comic book movies are all about, we know who's good and bad, we know what's right and wrong, we know who we want to win and who we want to lose, and I understand why that's appealing to a broad audience, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's like... Or
even to anyone in specific, not just like a broad audience, but why that is a kind of storytelling that is appealing.
I don't think I think if all movies were like the ones that I like the most, I think that would be pretty rough too, because you want those stories of like the hero persevering. Yeah. But there's also, people have made jokes about Star Wars being about, a terrorist group destroying the dominant, because, right. If you take that black and white lens off, you can
I was attacked again.
Get attacked by kittens
at
any moment. But yeah, I mean, it's just, those movies are more black and white for a reason, because certainty is very comforting.
Yeah. Well, and to some degree, like, it's the difference between, like, I feel like you don't necessarily like things, as you said, you don't like things that take it all the way to being absurd. Like, comedies often take it all the way to being absurd, and I don't think you like those so much.
No.
Because those have no, like, they start losing their basis in reality, like, completely, but there isn't, like, a greater metaphor necessarily.
Yeah. So. They get very shapeless. You like these movies, but you don't like them the way I do.
No, well, and again, over the last few years, I said this in one of our earlier reviews, like, I've actually gained more of an appreciation for these movies because of you. You've shaped my enjoyment of these more. So, like, I am more willing to accept them for that. They're still not... My kind of movie isn't as divorced from your kind, except that it's specifically, like, a sci-fi movie that is either, like... really plot driven, but also like ephemeral in like maybe characters. Like I need all three of those things, so it's a weird meeting of the mind. So it has
to be a sci-fi film.
It doesn't have to be sci-fi, but like sci-fi films are like it's not like even close. Like I like sci-fi films more than I like anything else. Yeah. But like another movie like Moonlight was really, I mean, that was like both of our kinds of movies.
Yeah.
That was a movie that manages to be dreamlike, but is so grounded in reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that dreamlike. It is a little bit.
Yeah,
it's more dreamlike in its structure than in its overall structure.
Yeah,
I would say than in individual scenes.
Yeah, whereas in all these movies, it's the scene, every scene in almost all three of these movies.
Yeah, like are any of these movies you think going to make it to your top for the year, kind of a thing? I mean, we're conjecturing because who knows what the
probably not Sunset.
Yeah.
That's of the three, that's the one that's the weakest. Just the one that I enjoyed the least, but I've still liked it and thought. Under the Silver Lake and Long Day's Journey into Night could possibly make like a Theo's favorite movies of the year list.
Mm-hmm.
But, and honestly, like I'm just thinking of the list in my head, like The Heiresses is one of the only other movies I can say that I really feel that way about.
Mm-hmm.
There hasn't really been a big movie that I'm like, maybe I'm forgetting something.
Well, it's hard with the overlap at the very beginning of the year. I'd have to see what we were seeing.
Because like if you include Birds of Passage like that, I really like Birds of Passage.
But that wasn't my favorite of the foreign films though. Oh, I like Cold War a lot. It's I don't know if it's dreamlike or if it's just
Don't rip the couch up.
I mean, that didn't have long takes.
Which one?
Cold War.
Cold War, it didn't. I like Cold War. It's that thing where
Roma had some dreamlike qualities. And now we're just going off on like
now we're going off on a tangent on other movies. But to round out this conversation,
before we go off,
I think I like all these movies too, and I appreciate them more because you are my sister. And we talk about movies constantly, so here we are. And they aren't my movies because at times, like as much as I enjoy them, I'm like I like things to be. I like the cleverness of like, and then this happens, and this happens, and this happens, and it's all connected for that reason, and less of a like, and it's all ephemeral, and now we're in another scene, and it doesn't really matter how we got from here to there. It's just sort of happening.
Yeah.
But I appreciate like how. It's almost like movies connected by theme is something you really like.
Yeah.
And I have grown to appreciate more that movies connected
but
almost just by theme.
But you tend to like things a little more grounded in reality.
Yeah, I get...
But in space.
Yes. In reality, in space.
Except we're going to have to talk about High Life.
Yes, we'll have to talk about High Life. We'll have to do that next time or maybe the time after that. We'll see. But anyways, That's it.
If you don't like movies that I like, then don't go see those 3 movies.
Yeah.
That's my recommendation.
Yeah.